All right, everybody, here we go. Week 11, yes? Now, I'm doing this video up as I don't have an actual video for this class. As mentioned, I'm going to do this at home independently, and I'll go over everything you need, and it's right here, okay? So we're going to work through the in-class. Also, we have our week 12-13, which is right here, that has your InDesign quiz. All right, so this will be our last InDesign, second and last, and then we have our major project that's right here, which we'll look at. Okay, so I'll do that up in a separate video, but for this video, let's get into our in-class, okay? They're actually going to be posting a bunch of final covers as well here. Don't forget your Clockify hand-ins, all that fun stuff. So we're coming to the end, right? We've only got a few more things to do, and we'll call it a day. So let's start. Download these files. Always a good beginning, right? So we're going to start there and download that. We're going to hit the next button, check it out, download. This is a nice little piece. We're going to do a two-page flyer, y'all, and this one is a cut-out shoe. Samba, actually, adidas Samba, yeah. So this is kind of where we're at, but I'm going to add to this, all right, this assignment. I'll do a second page, and yeah, I think that's good because I want to see us work with a second page. And we can work with the wraparound text, which is something you maybe haven't done before. Maybe you have, but if not, it's a really cool, neat thing that we can work with. All right. So that being said, we pretty much have everything we need. Keep an eye. This is just like every other assignment. I'll make it out of, 10, 9, 8, 7. So there's going to be in-betweens as well. I just have to update my rubric there, but it will be same as all the others that we've done. It is going to be a screenshot. Just don't forget layers and links. And all right. And that's actually called out here also in weekly, which I will activate any minute. Again, your videos will be here, week 11. All right. And then we're just going to make sure that you name your PNG accordingly as per all the other in classes we've done. All right. So that's cool. Let's get into InDesign. Sound good? So here we go. New file, y'all. All right. So first thing is we want to make sure we're in inches, right? Next thing, let's go on in and we're going to name this, of course, right? We know how to name stuff, your name, right? And we're going to go, this will be, let's just call it Adidas. There's no caps, right? Flyer. Okay. And that's good. That's all I need. We're going to name, of course, the hand in, so no stresses there. So what I'm going to do here, remember our width. Yeah, you can look at our print dialogues here, right? And you have legal letter, blah, blah, blah. Now notice, it's interesting. I just updated my InDesign, hence why all my things are defaulted back here. Frustrating. That's okay. I'm going to go here to inches, right? So we went into print, right? We have all these presets, print, letter, legal, tabloid. We know all that from GDF class. 8.5, 11, right? And I'm going to go to preview so we can have a look at this. Nice. So the beautiful thing about preview, as we looked at with our postcard, is that you can actually see all this stuff, taking effect. We know margin, 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 right? So in this case, we're going to make this, let's do a landscape ad. Okay, we'll do it in landscape. Sound good. We have the ability to add pages, of course. So if you wanted to do 10 pages, you can do 10, and it will then lay down 10 pages, which aren't actually showing at the moment. That's too bad because I love showing you how to use facing. Let's move on for that. Now, columns, we will want to put columns in here. We didn't do that for the postcard, but let's go ahead and do that now. 1, 2. Okay, so we have two columns. Nice. We have a gutter. Boop, boop. And let's make the gutter 0.375. Now I'm going to show and hide. Actually, you'll notice it's not taking effect here right now. So let's try that again. Command N. All right. Hey, there it is. Now, Command N, all I did there was close and then reopen, right, y'all? The cool thing about this is it does remember the last, actually, it doesn't remember the last thing. It does remember that look at this, 4 columns. What the heck's going on? So letter, right? Landscape, inches, right? Now we're going to make 3 columns. There we go. You can see it taking effect now, right? 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. That's great. We're going to do more of an editorial piece today, okay? And then what I'd say is let's just bump up our column. Maybe we'll do a column of 0.25. That seems really good. That should work out just fine. Okay. Make sure again you're in inches, 8.5, 11, and then again give it a name. Sorry. Um, I just like to show you the Adidas flyer, right? I just like to show you how this looks. Now, one thing we are missing, right? Check it out. There's no bleed on here, is there? And we looked at that in GDF quite a bit. So we always need to have live area, which is our margin, right? And the margin currently right now, or the live area here, you'll notice is at 0.5, right? As I move that up, notice how that takes effect, right? Perfect. So if I wanted to move it down, move it down. Now, this is a letter size sheet. Let's make it at 0.5. That gives us a lot of breathing room, brings everything in really nicely. Okay. Now, our bleed. We know minimum bleed. We've done it enough, 0.125. And notice what happens in red. Beautiful. There's my red guide for my bleed. Yes. Awesome. So just like GDF class. Fantastic. Everything there and everything else here is fantastic. So please go ahead and do that. I actually do not want facing pages. We looked at facing pages in our first class together when we looked, actually, sorry, I digress. In GDF for print class, remember in print class, we looked at facing pages and which are called reader spreads compared to printer spreads. So facing pages, basically what that means is it's reader spread. So it's just like you'd read a magazine from page 1 through to whatever the page ending is, if that makes sense. Okay. Now, that being said, this is great. Go ahead and hit create. Nice. So there you go. We've got our single page piece, right? Now, if I go in and I have a look at pages here for a second, I just want to show you here are pages, right? Now, I wanted to just ensure you understand what facing pages are and kind of how that works. So if we go in and we have a look at our pages here, okay, and properties, check it out. You can add right in the properties dialog. This is amazing. Everything is here for you. Notice I can adjust my margin right on the fly, and it will then adjust my margin, right? Which is awesome. Now, I can also adjust my layout. Now, adjusting my layout, it will bring up a larger dialog here that will allow me to do a whole lot more, right? We can change up our bleed, our adjust font size, adjust lock content, da 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 da. Now, that being said, what I wanted to show you all is if I put on facing pages, check it out. What will happen now if I add pages? So let's make it say a 16-page book. There we go. This, remember, as we looked in print class, is your reader spread, right? This is exactly how you would read your book, right? Kind of a nice looking book, actually, right? It'd be a landscape book, but I kind of like this. Yeah. Now, without facing pages, turn facing pages off. Ah, now we have 16 pages, but notice it's 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Straight down. So this would be great if you were doing, right, if you were just doing single flyers, right? Or you wanted to have, you don't need to duplex them, is what I'm getting, right? You don't have a back side of the page. That's where your facing pages is used for duplexing, right? Because we know that page 2 has to match up, I believe, with like page 14, right? Or 16 has to back up page 1, like we looked at again in our print class, if that makes sense, right? Whereas this, right, you just have single flyers. You could still duplex with this, but typically readers, these are like for single, right, for a single flyer that you're doing, not for, or even a web page. You could do web pages like this, where you wouldn't do facing pages like this for a web page, right? You would do it in single pages type of thing, right? Not that this is really what you use web page design for, but some people do. All right. That being said, I don't need a tour, thank you. Let's go back to page 1. Good. And this is where we're at. All right. I loved my margin. Everything there was good. Notice if you do make a change, you notice that I'm going to hit my lock. And for some reason, my margins don't seem to want to change at the moment. And I'm not 100% sure why that is. You'll notice that they typically will grow and shrink dependent on this right here and now. But it does not seem to want to work. Let's try it here on my margin within here, and it still isn't working. Um, and I'm not 100% sure. Sorry, I've got a bit of a glitchy McGlitch going on. And that's totally fine. It's all good. I'm not stressed out. Let's go. What we're gonna do now, y'all. Last class we worked on placing vector, right? This class, let's work on placing some image. Now we've already done it because we worked on that poster assignment together, right? Where we placed image, and that's truthfully where we're gonna get, where we're gonna be, right? I did a bunch of logos here. Fun. Okay, Cool. And so what we're going to do is let's go into our cap class, y'all. Okay. In class, right? We've got job folder here. Beautiful. We're coming to the end. Oh my goodness, we're almost done. I think every one of my job folders is now used. Oh my goodness, right? This will be Adidas flyer, right? Flyer. Perfect. Good stuff. Open that up. Now, originals, really important. Let's get those files filed away. Yeah. So right here we have our in class right there. And I also have a Samba shoe that I've cut out for you, which we're going to use on page 2. Okay. Let's go ahead and unzip. So double click. Nice. And we have this shoes layout folder and links, right? Wonderful. What I'm going to suggest, everyone, is let's grab that Samba right here, and I'm going to place that in my Adidas folder here, my links. So notice what I did was I went to column view, right? And then what I can do is I'm going to grab this Samba and I'm going to throw it right into this links folder, okay? Like so. See how I dragged and dropped that like that? Nice. Well, I kind of got there, not quite. Move it up. There we go. All right. So that's how we can do that. Another way to do that, of course, is to, if you do it this way, right? We can go in and sorry, original. There we go. Drop it down this way might be easier. Okay, so that way you can get into your links, right? You then have your working Samba right there. And then what we can do is all I want to do is make sure that all of my images are together. So if I went in and went and grabbed a bunch of images from online or blah blah blah, keep throwing your links in the same folder because that's really important. And in InDesign, keep everything together. This is your reference folder. It's exactly where all of your, once you make your PDF, this is where it's going to look. Link, it's going to grab all the high res stuff and then put it into the InDesign file for your PDF. That's kind of how it works. And that's how links work in InDesign, right? So that's an important thing to know. Now, what we're going to do is let's place some images, right? So we know that Command D is our place, and go ahead and do that with me now. So Command D will open up this, and we're going to go into our in class, of course, right? Good. And now I want you to go to Adidas Flyer and Originals and in class and layout and links. Amazing. So here are all our links. Lots of images. Yes. Now, a few things. You can, in fact, grab all of these at once. See what I just did there? Click, shift, click and I can just throw them all in. So again, if I want to have them to the side, or if I want to do this or that, you may want to bring in a bunch of images and then decide where you want to place them as you go, right? Now, show import options. If I were to bring in, say, a PDF, there is one here, and it was a multi-page PDF, what I'm able to do, y'all, is by showing import options and clicking OK, check it out. It's giving you all of these different things here. Now I can do all range. So if I had a 17-page PDF, I could go in and do I want page 15. See that? And what it will do is it will then find page 15 and open just that image. Sound good? So that's kind of cool. That's something to keep in mind if you're working in InDesign or and you want to bring in one page of a specific, right? Or say you had a bunch of, yeah. So you're ready? Let's bring them all in. What the heck? And see what happens. So working Samba, 3 stripes. You have an Adidas Moods picture. We have an Adidas logo PDF, a whole bunch of different types of images and logos. So we have an AI file, a PDF. Those two are both vector. PSD, which is a Photoshop file, which is layered. A JPEG, which is flattened, as we know. And a PNG may have template or transparency, may not. It really just depends. We'll have to have a look. Okay, so let's go ahead and open. And what you're going to find is you're going to get this little dialog. Now, the first thing it's saying is I have a Acrobat file. Now, that little icon that goes along with that is telling you that it's a PDF because that's the sign for the Acrobat or Acrobat thing, right? So, few ways we can bring images in. One, click and drag. Now, what you're going to notice is by clicking and dragging, it will bring all of your images in perspective, meaning it will not distort it, skew it, stretch it. It will make it exactly the same size. And then when you let go, it'll place it in there. Cool, eh? We can also do it this way. Click. Now, if you click, what you'll notice, click, 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 Holy moly, it's going to give you all of those images and it will place it in at exact size if you just click instead of drag and click. So I'm going to undo Command Z, Z, Z. Let's take it back up a step. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to take it back up one more step. Okay, check it out. It's telling you that there's a new history panel. Say thank you. That's great. Just like InDesign or just like Illustrator. Yes, I know how to use my thank you. And there's your history panel. Amazing. That's so good. Now, another way that we can do this, right? Um, if you hit escape, 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 escape. So I did undo. Notice it takes you right back to placing your file, right? But if I want to undo, undo, and then hit escape, 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 it will then negate the place, right? Which is fine. So what I'm going to do this time, y'all, is if you hit the F key is your frame tool. Now, what you will notice is each and every one of your images, text, no matter what it is in InDesign, always will have a frame on it. What I mean by that is let's go in and bring this Samba in here for a second. So I just brought in that one image, yes? What you will notice, and again, we've worked with this even with those posters and the postcard. If you hit the A button, you will notice you can then move that image around. But check it out. It auto creates the frame for you. It's exactly like a mask in Photoshop, right? So we work with masks, so we're somewhat familiar with how a mask works. Now, this isn't a mask, mind you, it's a frame. And what happens is it just auto masks it for you. So the frame is obviously where the content lies. The content can then be sized up, back and forth, depending on what you're working with. Yeah. Now, remember, you do, by holding on to these brown pulleys, you do need to make sure you're holding shift. Notice because you can squish it. Okay. Now we actually did this in our again poster class in GDF, but remember there are your fitting settings, which are really important. So if you have a look at your fitting settings, you can fit to height, you can fit to width. Notice it won't change because we did actually bring it in proportionately. But if I were to grab my frame, with my black arrow, go ahead and grab your frame and move your frame. There you go. So now I've got just my frame. Now we know the V key is your black arrow, and if you click on the V key and you click on the image, this is a nice new addition that they have. You don't actually need to use the white arrow anymore. You just need to hover over top and it will instantly allow you to get into your image, like so. Cool, eh? Now, if you're going to do this, right, keep in mind we have again fit proportionate, boop, fit proportionate, boop, fit proportionate, boop. And then we have the ability to center content. It's already, of course, centered, but say we brought this over here and you then want it centered, right? Perfect. And we again did that with the posters. Now, that's your like move objects and move image and all that fun stuff. Now we did that even with these sad robot. So it's the same whether it be with an image or with a vector object, right? Just remember when you're getting in here and you start sizing things up, just keep in mind that you do need to hold shift, right? Or else you're going to skew it and you never want to skew it. I always typically just use these two because they'll fit it either to the height or the width. And in that case, it'll always be one or the other that I typically work with on the frame, if that makes sense, right? Perfect. So let's go here. Notice I had my image selected and hit delete. Notice the frame stays here, right? It kind of gets left, right? So keep in mind, we can always hit delete twice if you accidentally did that or whatever. Now, I have a few ideas of how I want this layout to be done. So we're going to start with our images. Let's get our layers together because that's important. Really, really good that we do that. So open up our layers. This is going to be part of our hand in. First thing, I want to go in and let's call this out as images, okay? Nice and easy, okay? This one will be copy, okay, or text. All right. Now, remember, layers and all of this stuff really about the organization isn't just for us. It's in case you're working with a team of people and you have to hand this file off to somebody. Please give that thought because you never know. Again, working in an environment with a team, you got to make sure you're organized. And it's a nightmare. I used to put together the Adidas catalog, and we would have literally 1,000 images in there from socks to balls to bags and everything else, right? Shoes, etc. and it was atrocious, the file that I was given to work on. And again, it was by like serial code. But I promise you, even the people that work in those departments don't know the serial code for 1,000 items. And I'm like, why would you not name these specific so you could find these images without hurting? Like it was anyway, I don't want to go into it. But that's where I lived it. So what I want to tell you is it's so absolutely integral and important to stay organized, okay? Now, what I want you to do is hit the F key. That opens up our frame tool. I'm going to go on in, and what I want you to do is let's draw a box, okay? Now, if you're finding things are snapping, that's wonderful. They should be, okay? So snap, snap. Now, if you find that your items are not snapping, right, we can in fact turn our smart guides on, which is Command U, right? So our smart guides now should be turned on. Let's have a look, right? And you can find them in right here, and they were actually already turned on. I turned them off. So Command, right? View, grids and guides. Look at all these different options. Smart guides, turn them on. Okay. Nice. Now that will again just allow us so that it will tell you if it's on an edge or a line. It doesn't seem to want to work for me right now. Again, I don't know if it's because I updated or what, but that will usually say online or on, right, intersect, etc. I'm going to move on. I'm not upset. I'm just all good. So what we want to do is let's select this box. Yeah. Okay, or frame. Remember, it's a frame. This is an image frame. Yeah. So what we're going to do is Command D or File Place. And we're going to just start with those three stripes right here, the AD or AI. Okay. Three stripes AI. These are the actual Adidas stripes. Yay. Yes, I used to work with them every day. Now, what we're going to do is remember, we can try it, fit to proportionate. Check out what happens. So if I fit to proportion in my height, it's obviously going to make it the proper proportionate height, but that's not what we want. We want to go to the width. Amazing. So right away, that's fantastic. And that gives me the ability now to then place this wherever I see fit. Okay. Now, um, fitting it proportionate, we can then find right where the top is of this image. See that? And it'll go there for us. We can then move the box or the frame, right? We're not moving the image, we're just moving the frame up and down, right? Cool. And I can make it as long or as truncated as I wish. Now, I'm not stretching, skewing at all. All I'm doing is I'm grabbing the frame and moving the frame, or, think of it as a mask, right? Cool. So that's really easy. Now, links. This is wonderful. This is an AI file, everyone, and I'm not sure if I did this for the sad robot, but if you go on in and you right click, you'll notice that you have an edit with. Now, the edit with is amazing because that allows you to open with. Now, in this case, I have two options. I can even open it in Previewer. You have the ability to do other. So if you did want this to be opened in CorelDRAW, you could do other. It will then open in CorelDRAW. You'd have to have CorelDRAW loaded. You know what I'm saying? Another vector program is what I'm saying. Now, because it says that it's Adobe Illustrator, it knows, of course, it's an AI file. Okay, so that's wonderful. If I go ahead and click Open AI in AI, it'll then, of course, open in our native file. Now, we know this from the sad robot. So what we can do here, y'all, is let's go on in and just change the color, okay? Pick a nice color. What do we feel like today? Where are we feeling? Oh, I kind of like the blue. It looks very Adidas Originals, mind you, but you know what? I don't mind that at all. So there we go. We just changed it to this nice light blue, and I'm going to hit Command S. Amazing. Now it's telling you you're going to save it in legacy file and blah, 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 and that's just fine, okay? So we're going to say okay, and then we're going to go in, and right when you go back into your InDesign, like we did with the sad robot, you'll notice it will update for you, okay? Now, what I wanted to show you is if you go in and if you make an edit in Illustrator, right? So if I go back to Illustrator here, Acrobat, sorry, my menu bar is in the way. There we go. Let's go back into Illustrator here. Now, if I'm in Illustrator right now and I go in and make a change like that, okay, hit Command S, save. It's going to say legacy. Please don't show this again. And I minimize it. Let's have a look at our InDesign file. You will notice, everyone, that I got an error. This error is extremely important, and one of the reasons I want to see your links when you hand in your submission, because I want to make sure that you don't have any errors. What happened all because I didn't make this adjustment directly through my edit, right? I did my edit with, of course, this is your edit button, the pencil. If you don't do it that way and you just go in to the actual Illustrator file and make the edit, it will not know what happened because it's lost its link. You need to connect it directly from the document. Does that make sense? So now if I close that down, right? It's saying, do you want to save? I'll say sure. Okay. And then I go back into my InDesign file. Again, still an error. Now, this is where we need to be able to update our issues. You'll notice it does have this thing here called update link. You can also, of course, go to link, relink, and then also relink from libraries if you have, say, anything put in the library. If you go ahead and click on the update link, go ahead and try it. Hey, notice it remembers the last save that I put on that linked file. So what I'm getting at is it still knows that the link and where to find the link. It's just telling me that you made an adjustment to that link outside of in like without going the direct route, without actually using the link to make that adjustment. Does that make sense for everyone? So if you ever get those errors, please, you're going to be told 7 times as you're saving it out. Please note you have an error, you have an error, you have an error, and you're going to go, oh, why do I have an error? And then we want to make sure that we fix those. Update all your links, right? Okay, cool. So that's number one. We've got this color. Again, I'm not sure if I really like that color. Let's go back in with the pencil. Good. Again, I had a light blue, so maybe we'll just go there. I really like that light blue. Ooh, that's really light. Command S, save it, and then we'll go back. Notice it auto updates. Okay. Nice. Good stuff, y'all. Now, Command D. Let's do another D. Okay, place. Now we have 3 stripes we did. We have a working Samba. Okay. Now we have the Adidas Moods JPEG. So let's do this. Let's grab these 3 files. We'll use the Samba on the next page. I guess you can bring them all in if you wish. Go ahead and hit open. And then what we can do is this image. Let's try to place this. Let's use the entire start here. And I'm going to click and start dragging. Okay. Boop. Now with smart guides on, it should auto kind of snap to, which is nice. And notice I was able to just put that right where I want it. Now this image, I'm not sure if I want to use it or not. I'm kind of unsure. But what we can do is I'll just pop it over here for now, okay? The Adidas link or Adidas logo, we definitely are going to use that. It needs to be used. And maybe what I'm going to do is I'll put that nice and small, maybe right about there. Nice, okay? We still have the Samba that we're going to use, Samba, and I'm going to pop that over here. Again, we maybe use that on the next page, yeah? So that being said, few things. Shoot, if we're gonna do this Samba here, let's go in and I'm going to change the color here to a beige. I feel like that needs to happen. Maybe we'll do just to kind of match it to, right? We could, of course, go in and use our libraries and oh, that's a nice color. Command S, right? So I'll do that. We'll then go back into InDesign. Yeah, ooh, I don't know about that. Okay, just like we did in the sad robot, we use this one. So let's go ahead and try this, everyone. Color theme tool, right? So it's in your eyedropper. It's Shift I apparently. Now, if I go here and I click on the color theme, check that out. Are you kidding me? This is amazing. What it does is it automatically gives me the colors within this image. The reason I want to do that is I love the browns that are used in here. And now we know libraries, y'all. So let's go on in. I think I may have one already, Addy Flyer here, but if you want to, do it right now. Create a new, and we're going to call it out as Addy Flyer, right? Swatch. Good. Nice. So let's go ahead and do that. Hit create. Beautiful. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to add this to swatches, right? You'll notice it also adds to your theme. So I'm going to do both. I'm going to go here, click, add to library. That notice, fantastic. It's over here. I'm going to use this color or that one, depending on the mood I'm in. And now what I can also do is click here, and that will then create the color group in my swatches panel. So just like in Illustrator, we work with that on our logo. If you open up your color and go to swatches, hey, there we go. Have a look. Hey, there's our colorful theme. Right now, I call this color theme, but it's in the Adidas swatch flyer. We can always go in and rename that, right? Um, right? Good. Adidas swatch for this flyer, right? So good. Now, that being said, let's try this. Go on in. Let's grab this image. So we're going to go and open up our links, right? And we are going to go into our three stripes. Boom, right? Edit. Nice. Now let's go into libraries. Boop. Amazing. Let's take a step back because we're in our skate shop. Hey, there's our Adi Flyer swatch right here. Isn't that awesome? So what we can now do is we're going to right click, add theme to swatches. Love it. Boom. So that just added our right here to our swatches. Isn't that amazing? And now what we can do is I can go here and then change this to the color that I wish. That is awesome. Now Command S, go back in. Oh, baby. Isn't that cool? Now let's try this. This actually is a PDF file, right? And if you go in and you try to change the color, you will notice that it will do something like that because it's trying to change the color of the frame, right? So that is actually what's happening here is the frame is changing color, not the object, right? It's kind of cool though that I can do that and make it work and actually change the background to match the stripes right there. Yeah. Now, this is a native PDF. It's not a native PDF, sorry. It's an AI file that I saved as a PDF. And I mentioned in class that a PDF can be any type of file. It can be a Photoshop file. It can be an AI file. It can be, any file because every document or every program allows you to save out as a PDF, right? What I'd like you to try, and we already looked at this, is let's go in and do a edit with. Okay. Now you'll notice, go ahead and try the pencil on this file. Boop. Oh, sorry. Pencil. What you're going to find is it's going to open up in Previewer probably for many of you, right? And that's not cool because I need to change the color. So this is not helpful at all, right? What we need to do is we need to, again, right click and we're going to edit with. Now, instead of Reader or Acrobat, or it's funny that it opens in Previewer. I don't know why that is. It should typically goes to this. I think I may have PDFs opening as a Reader instead, as a default. That's another thing to keep an eye on. Now, so what I'm going to do instead, open with Illustrator. Hey, now, there you go. This, check it out, Command Y. We know Command Y is outline. There you go, Command Y. Hey, so there you go. This now allows us to get in. We even have our swatches that are right here that we've got, right? And I can go in. Let's add theme to swatches. Now, it is a little irritating because each document is independent. So you do need to add the swatches, more than once if you need to bring it into said document. That being said, notice you can change it from the library, which is kind of cool. But in general terms, bring it over and then we can make that adjustment. Beautiful. I really like that color to contrast the stripes. Let's see how that looks. You're going to do a Command S now. Okay. And then we can go on in and have a look. Ooh, that looks pretty good, actually. I like the contrast. Okay. Now, what we can do next is because I have these three stripes coming up on the bottom left, I feel I've done this so many different times and different ways, and you can pick one. I might just go here and extend that down. I feel like the logo, notice the logo is now utilizing this as a frame. See that? Now, if you want to change that, or if you're like, oh, I don't really want this in a frame, I want to be able to move it around independently. This, no problem. What we can do is let's delete that. Okay. And we can do a Command D, right? Adidas logo PDF, and there it is, right? So all I did was I placed it again. The reason you may want to do that is because then it's nice and no, now I can put it over here or there instead of having it tied to that frame. And I do like that frame. Another thing, I believe maybe Phil has shown this to you, the ability to auto size something, which is really cool in InDesign. It's whenever I love it in Illustrator, you click on something, you size it, and it sizes down. Photoshop, you click on something, you size it, it sizes down. InDesign, you go to size it, and it makes the frame small, and you're like, that didn't size it. So the trick to that is holding Command. So y'all, give it a try. Let's hit the V key, black arrow, click on the logo, hit Command, then hold Shift and size. Hey, there you go. Okay, so that's the trick, everyone. All you got to do is make sure that you hold Command, right? I had Command held down, click. Now, this is where you can skew it, so be careful. Don't skew. Oh my goodness. So we Command, hover over top. I'm going to hold Shift at the same time and enlarge and shrink and enlarge and shrink. Practice that. That's a great way that you can go about just auto sizing an object nice and quick, okay? So I'll just pop that in there, right? If I wanted that to be white, right? If you're like, oh, I just want to make a quick color change on that, no problem. Same as we did before. I'm going to go here, edit with, and Illustrator. Open it up, select on the object, hit white, hit save, and go back in, and it's good. Nice. And that really pops. I love that. Okay. Now, what are we going to do next? Let's get into working with images. So we worked with vector, different file types. Now, this is an interesting one. This is an adidas moods, is what I've called it. All right. If you click on these images, you'll notice you have the ability, and there's link info that's here attached to all of this stuff. So if you ever want to know what's going on with any of these images, just have a look. It's a JPEG. It's grayscale, which is interesting. Okay. It's an ICC profile of sRGB. It is actual PPI of 72, effective PPI of 173. Now, just to kind of call out, if remember we talked about size in comparison to dimension and in comparison to DPI and how they go hand in hand. Now remember, I've sized this down. So if I hold Command, Shift, and make it smaller, right? Now look at it. My PPI is effectively 318. See that? The actual PPI stays at 72 because it knows that the image is a 72 DPI image, but because I've sized it down, the DPI rises. It's like, okay, now the actual resolution or the effective resolution is 313. Does that make sense with everyone? We looked at that a lot in Photoshop, so I'm hoping that makes sense. So let's go on in. What I'm going to do is, I did kind of like that being over here. Sorry. I do make tweaks as I go. All right, so there we go. Let's go in and open this in Photoshop, okay? Now, what we can do, as you know, if you go ahead and hit the pencil, again, it opens in Previewer, which is not optimal, right? So I don't like that. Now, what we can actually do is, again, edit with Photoshop. Good. It'll then open up and tell me that I have an ICC profile embedded. That's fine. And then continue. It is a grayscale image, mind you, so nothing to worry about in that regard. Okay. Sorry. Here we go. Now, if I were to add anything here, whether I add a filter or I want to do anything here in Photoshop, right? You can go about doing that if you wish. Okay. Not in this one. Maybe we'll have a look at another one. What I wanted to show you is because this is a grayscale image, see that, right? The cool thing about InDesign is if you have any grayscale image, and this is the trick, typically only with grayscales, you can actually create an insta-duotone. Are you ready? So what I want everyone to do is grab this image. You can move it. Okay, there we go. We've got that image. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is let's go and grab our swatches, or you can even try it from here if you wish. Click, 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 and click. Check it out. So what you're going to find is by clicking on different colors, it will actually create a duotone. Cool, eh? Now that only works, of course, on black and white images, all right? So I think bitmaps it also works on. But it won't, of course, work on, say, the Samba here, because this is just a standard RGB. Now, if I go to click, notice, click, 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 notice the fill is changing as I'm changing it, but nothing's happening. The box won't change color, right? And the reason that this one will change color is because it is a black and white image. But it's kind of a neat thing to do because then I can go in and have a really quick look at different overlays and see if I like it or if I don't like it. Again, the beauty about this is if I want to try it with maybe one of these colors, which actually that looks really nice and ties it in together really nicely. Okay, so that's cool. Um, I'm happy with that, yo. I don't know that I need a whole lot more to go over in that regard. Now, we'll come back to the Samba when we do page two, and we'll come back and maybe play around with that image a little bit. Now, but the one thing you typically will be doing if you're doing, say, magazines or that kind of layout is like color correction and sharpening, etc. So what I may show you here is this is a PNG file. So let's go ahead and see what it opens with. Probably it's going to be, yeah, previewer again. So not cool just by using the pencil. So we're going to double click, right? Get into edit with, and let's do Photoshop. Nice. There we go. All right, so here's our image. So the one thing you're typically going to do is you sharpen, you apply some contrast, right? So just to practice this really quick, you're going to get into this in your next semester in Photoshop, right? We have the ability to brighten and take down. Actually, doing something like this looks really kind of cool, even in itself, right? Now, would I make a mask of this? Probably, right? I'm not going to get into that, but you do have these masks that we didn't look at in class. These are your adjustment masks, right? And so, shit, why not give it a try? So this isn't again a Photoshop class, but notice you have your photo filter, gradient, check it out, your pattern. Hey, there's your brightness contrast, right? And then by doing that, if I go into my brightness contrast, sorry, enter selected mask, right? You can then go in and make those changes. Sorry, it's over there in your properties. Here they are here, right? Sorry, that's not work. There it is. My bad. I was in the mask, not the effect. So there's the mask, and then notice you can do it this way. Now, doing this, it does create a layer for you, right? So the beauty about doing something like this is you can just delete it if you don't want it. You know what I'm saying? Now, this is an interesting thing I want to show you. Because I created a layer, right? And I do Command S, it will not let me save as a PNG file because PNGs don't support layers. They support transparency, but they don't support layers. So notice it's going to default to Photoshop, which is a layered. Notice it gives you the other two files that are layerable, PDF and TIFF, right? Which we've talked about in class. So what I need to do in this case is if I do Adidas kicks.psd, and I'm like, okay, cool. I really like what I've done with this image, and this is what I'm going to use. Now, if I go in, of course, to InDesign, you're going to sit there and go, oh, why is it not updating? Well, of course, it's not updating because it's a PNG. We just saved out a PSD file, right? So, that being said, if you want to do this, we can, of course, keep this here and let's go in and do a Command D, right? And then I can go here to my Adidas Kicks PSD file. And there you go, right? Isn't that cool? Actually, that looks really neat. So I might use that on page two as well, right? But there you go. You now have the PNG file and you have the PSD file. Another way that you can do this is if you want to update it and you're like, oh, I want to keep this in the exact same frame. So I want that image to be exactly where it is. I just changed it and stylized it. And so I'm going to pop it in exactly the same spot. If you're doing magazines, right, and you're touching up, and maybe you're like, oh, I don't want that image in that box. I want to swap it out for another image. You don't need to, you can do Command D, of course, or you can actually go to relink. So notice what I can do here is with my PNG file, if I do relink, boop, then it sucks that it doesn't take you right to the folder. That's kind of poopy, but that's okay. Then we go on into the Adidas file. Then we go into originals. Then we go into our shoes, then links, and there it is there, right? And then you can hit open. Boom. And notice how now I have two of the PSD files because it just updated that to that. Cool. So that's your kind of your panel there, all right, and how you can utilize those different yeah, You got it. Okay, cool. So we've got kind of like a nice selection here of other images that I might want to use. Don't be afraid to having things along, like I sometimes my file does get a little messy, but as long as they're not in this area, right? There are things that it's a working file, right? So it's not your final one. Um, that being said, let's take a break there. I'll stop the video. And what we can do is we will come back and let's get into some text, okay? And then we will lay some text in. We'll look at columns, how a text can be linked. The text boxes are linked. And then we'll get into page 2, which we'll play around with the Samba and maybe throw this image as well in there. Maybe we'll change the color to a beige as well to match, okay? Awesome. Let's do a Command S though. Oh my goodness, we haven't saved it. Save to this computer. And let's go in. Where do we save it? And in your minds, you're all saying, in working, Mitch. Yes, thank you. And so you're going to go there and save and huzzah. Okay, so that's that, y'all. I will be back in a few minutes and hopefully we got there and we're playing around with some images and it's coming together. All right. So I will be back, as mentioned, in just a few minutes. Cheers. I can figure this shit out. Stop share and stop recording. Hey, there we go.